Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday, August 25th at 7 p.m. This is the meeting of the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It's not to be considered a public community meeting, but there is time for public participation during the meeting as identified in the agenda. Dr. Kozad, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Mrs. Dorn?
Here.
Mr. Kinsey?
Present.
Mr. Price?
Here.
Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is right there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our treasurer is absent this evening, and we don't have a treasurer's report. It's this normal rotation would not be for us to have a treasurer's report anyway. So we'll go right on to correspondence. Any board members have any correspondence that they received since the last meeting that they want to share? All right. We'll go to reports to the board then. The Greene County Career Center update. Mr. Romali?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. With the start of the school year, we've got, last year we had 68 students from Bellbrook. This year we've got 76. So there's been about a 10% increase there. One program of note, the robotics program, is transitioned to a Greene County Career Center satellite program, and that's been, it was very popular in the middle school. They had a VEX robotics club there, and they're now trying to institute one at the high school. And this VEX robotics club, we've seen, we've got schools in Beaver Creek that went to nationals as part of that. So I expect good things for the Bellbrook students and things like that. In addition to that, we've got 11 students enrolled in the cosmetology program and 10 in the health sciences. So those are kind of the big numbers from Bellbrook. Finally, the school year starts 15 minutes earlier, so the Career Center has instituted what they call increased achievement on Wednesdays only. And it's an opportunity for the students to work on their academic, professional, as well as personal growth. So that's one of the things that the Greene County Career Center was excited about to start this year. So that's really, they've got one of the biggest classes ever with the building of the new school. They're really drawing students out there this year. So
Nice.
there's a lot going on. Heard you all about that. So,
Okay.
any questions for me? Thank you very much.
Just really appreciate again what you do.
Yes.
It's awesome with your background and tying to the base and everything that you do on that. I'm just elated that this relationship that's
Thriving.
come to fruition between us, and Greene County Career Center, with respect to teachers, with respect to students, finding not every kid's cut out for college, and they can be utterly successful.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what their interests are. I was just fascinated when I went out there and saw whether it's auto hobby or robotics or UAVs or health, or it's so impressive. And I'm really glad that it's not just us and them. There's this relationship.
Right.
It's just awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
I enjoy being a part of it, and I thank you for the opportunity to do it. Look forward to doing it.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Carrera for the Sugar Creek Education Association. Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Julie Giles, and I am the high school representative for the SEA.
Okay.
And I'm going to just say a little piece tonight. First of all, we had 17 out of the 19 new hires join the SEA, which we're really happy about this year. And to keep you up to date on the board's MOU request, we're still working on a resolution to that. We had a great start to the school year at all of our buildings, and we're looking forward to working with the board as stakeholders in decisions that impact the students and the staff and the teachers. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And now the Stephen Bell PBIS team, who's going to speak? Okay.
everyone. My name is Ginger Keating. I'm the principal here at Pbis Elementary. And tonight we have the pleasure to share with you about PBIS, which stands for Positive Behavior Intervention Supports. And I'm going to introduce part of our team that's here tonight. We have our second grade teacher, Rachel Barker, Stephanie Vukovic, our librarian, and Jennifer Huff, kindergarten teacher. Our great fellow representatives who are not here tonight, Jackie Combs, first grade teacher. Other representatives for our comprehensive team include our school guidance counselor, Elena Dill, and Whitney Nipper, who is on leave at this time, Jenna Sandlin, our school psychologist, Stacy Tincher, our PE teacher, Eva Wasty, paraprofessional, Carrie Franz, and also Stephanie Vukovic represent the District Strategic Positive School Culture Committee, which really served as a vehicle for the Culture Playbook, dealing with the Focus 3 movement, and then, of course, myself. And we have one final team member who has yet to join the team, and we're very excited to bridge a community member. And we are meeting the second Tuesday of each month. And here in September, we're going to talk to our PBIS team, and we're going to hopefully invite a kindergarten parent to join our team, because we really want a parent to be part of our team so we can have a parent perspective. So what is PBIS? I'm going to read the definition from the state fact sheet so parents can understand the jargon, because I know as educators we often throw a lot of big words that don't really make sense. So I want to make sure that it's very clear. So PBIS is an evidence-based, three-tiered system that is designed to help improve and integrate all of the data and the systems to help affect the children and the outcome each and every day that they come to school. It helps to establish school culture, and we look at behavior supports to help improve their social connection, their emotional connection, their behavior, and academic outcomes for all students. But really where it starts is with the adults. And that's why the adult team, for our PBIS team, we are so excited that we have had a system in place at Stephen Bell for quite some time. And we have really elevated our PBIS program this year, including, maybe you've heard about the Building Bucket. Our children are already used to have you fill your Building Bucket. All the students in each classroom do that. That is a tier 1 level because everyone participates. What is new this year is what our team is going to share with you. So that is the tier 1, and it is definitely a shared leadership. And so I'm really proud of what's happening, even just on the second week of school. But keep in mind, it's only the second day for kindergarten. And for some of them, yesterday was their first day. And for the Gold program, today was the first day. So big, exciting things happening at Stephen Bell. Stephanie Vukovic is going to walk you through what's going on with Focus 3 and the change that's happening at Stephen Bell.
So back in 2019, I believe, district upper administration started our Focus 3 journey. The administrators started learning what Focus 3 is, the mindset behind it, in an effort to change and improve our school culture. And then COVID happened. So it kind of got put on the back burner for a while, but last school year we formed a district level Focus 3 committee that included teachers and staff from buildings across the district. And our goal was to come up with a culture playbook.
playbook kind of outlines our beliefs, our behaviors, and the outcome that we want to see K through 12. So it is a consistent language and message that students and staff are receiving daily. We want to live by this. And some of the words that you're going to hear throughout your child's school journey, or if you are a staff member, we're going to hear E plus R equals O. And that really ties in quite a bit with what we're trying to achieve with Pbis. The E in E plus R equals O stands for event. And you can't control the event. It's what happens. It's life. The R is your response. And that's going to determine your outcome. So our response as educators really drive home for our students, like what their outcome each and every day is. And one of the cool words that we heard during Focus 3 really stood out to me is that our response becomes someone else's event. So my response of the adult in the room now becomes the child's event. And it's really important that we stop and think about how we are addressing those learners to create a positive environment. We don't want schools to be negative. So I think the next slide. These posters are in every classroom to help convey that message to each and every staff member and student in our district. And our beliefs came down to 3 things: do the right thing, soar together, and pursue excellence. It's simple language that anyone can understand, and we've really found a way to break it down for our young learners here. The biggest one that we kind of gravitated toward was soar together, and we adopted that soar into our Pbis messaging. So Rachel is going to speak about how we created a system to encourage that positive behavior with our students using that language. So this is one of our charts that we will be receiving soon, and they will be hanging in prominent locations throughout the building. But we broke down our beliefs for our students, and then what that should look like for each one. So what is the expectation? So the bus is very basic. For do the right thing, you're going to sit quietly with your back to the seat so that we know you are being safe. Soar together, that we above me, we're being polite and kind to everyone, students and bus driver. And pursue excellence, be respectful and be responsible. So it's just doing the right thing at all times, even when nobody's watching. And using that language has really driven home, even in this first week, like what the expectation is in a clear way that is child friendly. So one of the things that we went through when we decided how we're going to teach the children a lot of these higher level concepts, we already had a huge library of read-alouds, interactive read-alouds. Every class has a set, and they are lots of different titles, different topics, different kinds of themes. And we went through each grade level member. I did it, Mrs. France did it, and Rachel did it for second grade. So we went through and looked at what books we already had, that we all knew we all had, and how we could connect those to lessons that would help us teach the SOAR. So, one of the, I'm just going to give a couple examples. For Eagles Do the Right Thing, we all have titles of books, the Feelings book, Understanding Your Feelings, Learning How to Be Yourself. Each section has about 8 to 10 titles. Goldilocks and 3 Bears, Do the Right Thing. And then for Eagles Soar Together, our theme was the importance of friendship and kindness, focusing on working and living together, community and diversity. It's okay to be different. Birdman, which we all probably know that one. And And then our last thing that we talked about, equals pursue excellence, focus on growth, do your best. This is the one that we read this week. Look out, kindergarten, here I come. Another one's called Avoid the Airplane. So we thought it was a great investment that we'd already had these titles in these books. Everyone in the classroom has them, and they really focus on good topics for our character concerns that go with our morning meeting time.
So to really tie in our focus 3 terminology with our students, with that, like Stephanie said, really soaring together is where we kind of, not that we're not embracing all of it, we're really embracing that soar piece. That's language that our learners K-2 can really grasp and understand. They know that an eagle flies and eagle soars, and that we can soar together. So the students are learning that the acronym SOAR stands for being safe, having ownership over their themselves, having a great attitude and respect. This terminology is spoken to them daily. First thing in the morning with Mrs. Keaton, who's doing live Google Meets in every classroom. The students are hearing it every morning. What does the S stand for? What does the O, the A, the R? And then that's also being repeated. I hear teachers saying it in the classroom. Hey, I see you having a great day. Your attitude is awesome. So we're really trying to connect that focus 3 language that's a little easier in middle school and high school. But we're working really hard at this lower level to connect that focus 3 from the culture playbook into our PBIS that's a little more age appropriate. Which brings us to how we are tying that into a PBIS building-wide system. And as Mrs. Keaton said, really elevating what we have been doing in the past and making it work for what we're doing now, connecting that culture playbook to our PBIS system. So, several of you in the audience, I'm sure, get excited for a raffle. Yes? Who doesn't love winning something from a raffle? I do. I love it. So, we had the great idea, team, to have the students earn golden tickets. And so, all of the teachers have a few things like this. Every teacher in the building, even paraprofessionals, lunchroom aides, custodians, everyone is on board and being a part of this system. This is not just for classroom teachers, which for me is one of the most exciting pieces because I'm feeling connected to my colleagues in the way that I love them always feeling, building wide in a way that ties to students. We've always had a relationship with each other as a colleague, but now we all have this common thing to really work with for our students, which has been great. The students love earning golden tickets. How do you earn a golden ticket? You simply sort. If you're doing SLAR, you get a golden ticket. We are passing these out like candy. I see everyone in the hall with these. I personally find it easier to have them pre-ripped. I have a golden bucket. I pass mine out all day long. The students love getting them. They put their first and last name on the ticket, and then each classroom has a classroom cover at either at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, whatever works for the classroom teacher. They get dumped into our hopper, which is super fun, and the students are really excited about it. I don't know who's more excited, the teachers or myself. Mrs. Keaton brings the hopper out for a building-wide SOAR assembly, which is awesome for us. It's the first time since I've been here, and we're doing a building-wide student assembly that is completely student-focused. So the purpose of the assembly is to get all the students together, and Mrs. Keaton with some helpers draws names from our hopper, and the students get to come up and be recognized in front of all of their K-1-2 peers. It's really awesome. We had our first one on Monday, which for first and second grade students was the 3rd day of school. And my students came in on Monday, just from being here Thursday, Friday, knowing that's what we were doing first thing. They could not wait to come in and see who got pulled out of the hopper. It was very exciting. So tickets are a huge part of our PBIS. We are also using source slips. And these are really unique because they are for both desired and undesired behavior. So students are not going to be able to differentiate when they see a peer getting a source slip. They're not going to know if they're getting one because they did something outstanding. Hopefully that is why they're getting one. Or if it's because we Families will know if these slips are being sent only because classroom teachers are using an equal stamp in their students' agenda or equal order to indicate that these are coming home. And classroom teachers have a goal to send 10 source slips a week home for students in a positive way. Now we know that negative behaviors happen. It's life, these are young children after all. So we will send them home for both reasons. But the goal would be that our classroom teachers would be sending more positive home as and negative ones as needed. So the PBIS team will continue to meet monthly to kind of discuss how that is going. We will also be documenting, just as we've always done, moderate to severe behavior infractions that are sent home on the source slip. Those will be documented with Mrs. just as we have always done. But overall, we're very excited for our new PBIS.
So when you think about our school climate, our panorama survey in the last several years has indicated that we have a very high school climate, high school culture, happiness amongst our staff. Students have never been surveyed because they're so young. It would be interesting to see their results. I know that third graders have been surveyed. We are fortunate that we have a really strong parent support. Our meet and greets and kindergarten orientations attendance, we had 90 to 94% in attendance. So we're very fortunate that we have strong parental support. We thank the board for allowing us to present tonight. Do you have any questions for us? Excellent question. So the hopper normally sits on that table, but the hopper is hidden in the office tonight. The hopper sits on the B, and the hopper wheel, the child gets to spin the wheel, and on the wheel, Mrs. Vukovic has, you can land on a prize, and we have the hopper cart. They get to choose their prize. And there's other items on the hopper wheel, such as sit with a friend at lunchtime, because they do have assigned seats for behavior and safety, because we're training them. And, or they can, I think a few of the prizes, remember what else is on there. Take off your shoes. Like no shoes in the classroom. No shoes in the classroom. Show and tell. That's a very popular. Yeah, show and tell. Oh, that's the big one. The whole class gets an extra scoop of marbles for the bucket. They're really popular. Yes. So it helps reinforce that B before B, before prize, just set it in for entire class. And we also get a golden sticker. It looks like an award symbol. They get to wear their golden sticker all day. That was something I saw a student later in the day, not from my class, it was the first grade class, coming out of art, and my class was going to art. And I was like, hey, buddy, you had people out of the hopper today? He was beaming. He just like couldn't believe that I remembered that. And I did. It was very cool, just recognition and raising that we're watching them soar, we're acknowledging that they're following us so they are, and this is just like immediate feedback, and if they have to think they're being drawn to get something a little more tangible than that. And honestly, the tickets alone have been amazing for students. They just feel the ticket because they know that their effort has just been recognized in the moment, and whether or not they get their ticket drawn out of that hopper, I don't think they care as much about that. These, they clutch them like it's true. That formative feedback, we would rather invest it in the positive. We're going to invest time in the children, so let's invest it in the formative, positive. Good question.
All right.
Anything else?
Just a comment. Thank you very much. You guys just continue to tweak, refine, make it a little fresh, make it a little unique, and keep it interesting for everybody, for the kids, but also obviously of creating a safe, welcoming environment for the students, for staff, for everybody, just creating a positive climate and just tying that in with the Focus 3 work and incorporating in the work you guys have put in over the years on your own PBIS and in the school here. So just kudos to all of you. I know, you put together this presentation. It's a great presentation, but there's hours and hours of work of putting all those things that you're talking about together, making sure logistically they work and everything else. It's a lot of thought process throughout that whole thing. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you very much. All right. Next is our consent agenda items, which is...
Nope, over communication.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it is open communication. Thank you very much.
Personal delivery.
Thank you.
Wow.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And Megan DeVoe, thank you. And I really wasn't trying to avoid you, really.
Good evening, everybody. Just a quick anecdotal feedback as a female parent. My student has been handing out golden tickets at breakfast. He was so thrilled, so now we're all doing it. So thank you. Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the district for all the safety information that was distributed at the beginning of school. It was pervasive, it was everywhere, and I really appreciated the thoroughness and just the frequency with which that was communicated, so thank you. One follow-up question I did have, at the late July board meeting, it was discussed how the district could work with the city and the local law enforcement on some additional options for school resource officers. I didn't hear an update about that in the earlier August board meeting, so I'm just curious when we can expect an update.
Well, if you look on the agenda at the items of information, there is a special meeting with the school district, city, township, and park district regarding safety.
Thank you.
And
I was hoping that's what that was.
That's what that's about. So,
okay.
Yes, thank you. It's nice to have a good answer.
Yeah.
All right. Now we'll go on to the consent agenda items, which would be 6A, 6B, and there is a hand carry item to add to that in B4, Stephen Nuthall as a custodian. And all of the board members should have that. Does anyone want to pull anything out of the consent agenda for additional discussion? All right. Hearing none, do we have a motion for our consent agenda for items 6A, 6B, including the hand carry item?
Move to accept.
Mr. Kinsey and Mrs. Dorn. Any questions, comments, discussion? All right. Dr. Kozad, please call the roll.
Mrs. Dorn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes. Motion passes. So over to you
Yeah.
for item C.
C, athletic overnight. Recommend approval of the following athletic department participation: boys cross country overnight trip, Tiffin cross country carnival, September 9th and 10th. Cost is covered by the cross country program.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Dorn and Mrs. Anderson. Any questions, comments, discussion? All right. Looks awesome.
Yeah.
Please
Looks
call the
fun.
roll.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn?
Motion passes.
2022-23 bus routes per section 3301-83-13 of the People Transportation Operation and Safety Rules. The board designates all bus stops, routes, and time schedules for the 22-23 school year. Superintendent and Transportation Coordinator have the authority to relocate and or make changes as deemed necessary for the safety of the district students and school bus fleet.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Mrs. Dorn,
Second.
Mr. Kinsey. Questions or comments? Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, just again, kudos to Mr. Wilhite and the whole transportation department and bus drivers of just trying to at the beginning of the year, those routes, especially the first couple of days, parents taking pictures of kids, and so those things run a little long at the beginning, and so trying to refine those. And we're getting there. We're continuing to refine and tweak and just appreciate everybody's patience of that, because again, we did add high school busing back this year. We did bring back some additional busing, especially here at Stephen Bell, 725. Anything on that side, I know I'm in the building here, but south side of 725 we brought back. So some additional routes there and so forth. So appreciate everybody's patience and understanding.
President, a comment, I guess, here is that,
Yep.
just to clarify here, when it says the board designates all bus stops, routes, and time schedules, in reality, we delegate that
Correct.
to the coordinator. So just so the community understands that, I did not myself come up with this multi-page to the minute, to which street, which corner. It's impractical. This is more than a full-time job. This is Jacob has done, and with the other folks that are involved in it, they have, blood, sweat, and tears over this. Trying to figure out how to make it, as functional and practical and beneficial to our community as possible. So, just a little bit of clarity on that.
Sure.
I did not designate stopping at the corner of Spillway Court.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, that's right. It's our responsibility to approve it.
Yes.
Find the right people to make it. Any other questions, comments? Okay, please call the.
I'm sorry, additional, I guess we pushed, I think we stretched the personnel.
We have.
And our administrators to the brink, maybe overstretched them. I think they are still overstretched, that we're contracting out for drivers and whatnot. I saw that frustration, that folks that have worked so hard, and I just ask for grace from the community, for the minor kinks that are still being worked out, because we gave them a serious challenge to try to bring back what we brought back in the employment climate that the whole world has right now. Trying to hire for jobs that most people don't want to do. So there's not much we can do other than offer our sincere thanks.
Yeah, again, we had to contract for about five positions, contract out for those, and our long-term plan, again, is to hire our own, bring our own in. That's going to take some time here as we bring those people on board. We have at least one in the waiting is coming back in a couple months. So, but that's the long-term plan for that.
Sure. Yes, our appreciation to the whole transportation group. Absolutely. Go ahead, please call the roll.
Yep. Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Donations, recommend acceptance of the following donations with gratitude: a Staples in Bellbrook Centerville, various school supply items to the middle school in support of staff and students. Michael and Tasha McCullough, $300 cash donation to BMS Athletic Department, and then special T marketing 5x8 spirit banner for the middle school.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Anderson?
Second.
Mrs. Dorn? Questions, comments?
What is the spirit banner thing? Which one is it? Not to put you on the spot.
Along with our theme story.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to come up with a design.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like middle school
All middle school.
was the big winner.
Kind of goes in waves.
Yeah, it does. It does. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
With gratitude?
Mrs. Dorn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes. Thank you.
Motion passes. Going on to items of information, Mr. Kinsey, do you have any update or comments about the OSBA legislative liaison spot you've got?
Just a couple things, not much, since, as we probably know, the legislature is in recess for most or all the summer. This may not even be new information, but we can also try not to touch on things we've talked about in the past too much. But the first one is just calling out again, especially with some gratitude about how the governor and his administration did another round of safety grants. It was $100 million through the K through 12 school safety grant program. That was authorized by House Bill 687. And we here in Bellbrook-Sugarcreek received $200,000. So major thanks to our district grant writers for going out, seeking that, putting in a lot of time and effort. That really helped because we've been doing a lot of safety updates and putting a lot of emphasis on safety, including some new hardware for visitor management system, state-of-the-art camera system, lots of stuff that hopefully you've been following as we've released that throughout the summer. So major thank you to them for making that happen. The second thing that I would just like to comment on is that the State Board of Education approved at its July meeting a little bit of a promotion score in the third grade reading guarantee. They bumped it from 683 points to 685 points. I have no idea what that means. Honestly, the only reason I want to mention it is because I learned something really cool attending the open houses, which are so well done, is that I heard that throughout the history of this third grade reading guarantee program, no student in Bellbrook-Sugarcreek schools has ever been held back or retained due to that. None. So major kudos to everybody here at Stephen Bell for your fine work in BCI. I think that's pretty cool. That's really all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can we comment on the special meeting day, Larry?
I can.
Okay, go ahead.
So looking at a special meeting date that brings together the school district, city, township, and park district regarding safety. And this actually will be taking, I know it says the Bellbrook Middle School cafeteria, will actually be taking place at the Sugar Creek Administration Building on Ferry Road. So that needs to be changed in there. So Sugar Creek Administration Building out on Ferry Road. That's on September 19th at 5:30. And again, there will be an official meeting notice that will go out. This is not the official meeting notice, but just kind of as an FYI.
Which organization is taking the lead on publishing the agenda for all the purposes of open meetings and whatnot, or is that being done collaboratively?
Well, each community or each entity is having its own agenda because everybody has to do their own thing, even though the agenda is going to evolve around safety. So everybody has to put their own agenda, everybody has to do their own meeting notice, but it's all going to focus around safety. Yeah.
Just a question or thought here. This is a combination of multiple public bodies, right, that are going to meet. And my recollection is that the forum there at Feedwire is not like big.
Not huge, no, it's not.
And so if you have multiple agencies having a meeting, like you have different people that attend each one. If we get them all, we might have more people than we can pack in there. Do we have a constraint? We cannot use the school. Is it not available that night? Is there other considerations I'm not aware of or whatnot? It just seems to me like we're asking for something that's a sardine can.
I had that conversation with Sugar Creek Township, and they're the ones hosting it, and I can talk again to Mr. Tiffany, and I expressed some of those same thoughts to him, and he wanted to host. And then also kind of another piece is they have a regular meeting that night. So this is their work session time. So they have a regular meeting at 7, I believe. So I had some of those same thoughts because there's probably going to be about 20 people just with the entities, with councils, trustees, and everybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
In a room that seats 50, maybe. I don't know. It's 50 to 70.
It's about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think-
Chamber of Commerce fills it up.
So I can touch base again with Mr. Tiffany, but I talked with him. That's why it has cafeteria on here, because that's the direction I was heading. Um,
District headquarters would probably
yeah,
suffice as well.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's a good.
but folks take turn hosting, so usually when they take turns hosting, they host there. So, but I can reach out to Mr. Tiffany again and express our thoughts
I
again.
think it's important because one, we want to afford as many people the ability to attend as possible.
Mhm.
Check our community COVID numbers. We are a high community, and if we are putting people elbow to elbow, in a meeting, that's probably not optimum. And so it'd be nice if we could have a place where we can spread out and attend without being like, well, too late, you weren't here on time, so you can't
Mhm.
go watch the YouTube channel. I don't think that's going to be ideal. So.
We do intend to have it live
Oh,
streamed.
okay. That's
Yeah.
my question.
Yep. And each organization will have their own roll call and so forth as well. And they'll all be considered official meetings.
And since it is an official meeting for us, I assume we put out the agenda in the same way we always do ahead of time, so
Mhm.
folks can be on the lookout for that if there's a change in venue.
Correct.
Yep. Yeah. So there hasn't been an official notice.
Right.
This is, on the official notice. Yep. And then if there's unfortunately a change, we'll put out another official notice updating.
Yep.
Really want to get that solidified before we put something out.
Mhm. All right.
Yep.
And Mr. Price, support of firearm safe storage for families in our community.
We had for individually sent emails to people in the district. Usually all of us are recipients. As well, we've had folks come out and speak to us over the summer in light of what happened with Baldy. And one of the things that was suggested was making the community aware of the importance of securing firearms, and a way you can do that through agencies or organizations that provide gun locks free of charge. And so I'm a very firm believer in that. As much as I believe in the Second Amendment, our right to bear arms, I believe just as strongly in the responsibility of people to be responsible with those firearms. And so it kind of it resonated with me when they brought this forth on a couple of occasions, and it's something that independently I had thought of for years. It's just that what's available out there, and are people aware? They think about this. And for those of you that follow the news here, I won't list the location, the age, or anything. I don't want to be broadcast. I don't want to bring any more bad feelings to the folks that had to experience this. But within the region here, within the last 2 weeks or so, there was a brother that shot another brother and died. Had a secured firearm. They were horsing around with it, and one of them died. And so that resonated with me. And so I went to Cabela's some weeks after that and said, hey, you all give out secure locks for guns. And he said, well, you have to buy one, and I said, if you really, really want one, I'll go back and take one up for you. But I thought there was a requirement. I didn't know that they would provide those, but they don't. And so independent of anything I was saying or doing, I noticed the Sugar Creek Township newsletter came out, and the Sugar Creek police said, hey, if you need a firearm lock, it's available, no questions, as many as you want. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And so then, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, we had National Night Out on Bellbrook, and the Bellbrook police was down there in the docks, and there they were, free gun locks. And so I'm like, this is like here for us. I mean, it's basically, will it matter? I don't know. If these are provided, how many people actually take advantage of it? 10, 1, 50? I don't know. But it could make a difference. Mm-hmm. And so while the school would normally, I guess, have the necessity to weigh in on something like this, in light of the numerous tragedies we've seen the last year, in light of this accidental shooting of kids below the age of 18 in our local area, it just started really, and again, based upon the input I got from parents to come out and talk to us at these board meetings and send emails. I'm like, I think this is a reasonable request. And what I mean by that, they asked if we would, as a school system, say something about safe and secure firearm storage. And I thought, okay, so I put together what I'll read here as a resolution, and it certainly reflects my sentiment, how I feel about safety in general in our school system. And of course, the board members will, they'll consider this as I read it, and then we'll discuss it. But let me read it to you. And so it goes, I could have just tonight just said, hey, let's put something in the student handbook about free gun laws. But I also want to just underscore how serious I am about this. And it's something that really, really I ponder a lot with respect to our children. So let me read this to you here, and we'll discuss it, assuming someone makes a motion to support it. Resolution in support of firearms safe storage for families in our community. Whereas evidence strongly suggests that community-wide secure firearm storage and responsible handling is an essential component to an effective strategy to keep schools and children safe. Whereas research shows that secure firearm storage practices are associated with a significant reduction in the risk of unintentional firearm injuries among children and teens. Whereas a high number of children and teens die by gun suicide each year, most often using guns belonging to a family member. Whereas the vast majority of active shooters are current students or recent graduates who obtained their guns from their own home, a relative's home, or from friends. Whereas across the country, lawmakers, community members, and local leaders are working together to increase public awareness regarding the benefit and responsibility of secure gun storage while highlighting the public safety risks of unsecured guns. Whereas keeping students, teachers, and staff safe should be the highest priority of all adult stakeholders at our schools. Whereas, in order to continue with preventative measures to increase student and school safety, now therefore be it resolved that the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Local Board of Education directs the superintendent and staff to update the student handbooks to emphasize the critical importance of firearm safe storage and to inform parents and guardians that free gun locks are available from the Sugar Creek Township Police Department and the Bellbrook Police Department. And be it finally resolved that the board and the superintendent will continue to work with local law enforcement agencies and other appropriate agencies to collaborate and increase efforts to protect our children. And one thought is that what's a gun lock with a cable? Someone can saw through that with a hacksaw in a minute, but that gives them a minute to think, And sometimes these things happen, or especially with respect to suicide or horsing around with a gun or whatever. It happens on the spur of the moment, and so that gun lock can buy a little extra time. And do I think it will necessarily result in a life save or someone not hurt in our district? Probably not. But across this nation, if every school board did this, certainly there would be some children that will be alive as a result of it. So these are my thoughts. I would like to offer it up as a resolution for the consideration of our board, and I wait your response.
So we have a motion from Mr. Price. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Anderson? Comments? Well, it doesn't directly impact education. Safety of our students is one of our highest priorities. So certainly getting the information out, making it part of our handbook is a very reasonable request.
And assuming it gets approved here, I would like for it just to be just short and to the point. To enhance safety in our community with respect to firearm storage. The community is advised that, or be made known to the community that there are free gun locks available from these two agencies. Nothing political about it, not weighing down one side or the other on the gun topic.
Right.
It's just a statement of fact.
I agree, Kevin, very well stated. I think this is a program that is very valuable
very appropriately being handled by our police departments.
Mhm.
But if it serves our police departments well, for us to serve as a mouthpiece for them because we have access to
Mhm.
all those families with young children, I'm happy to serve as that mouthpiece
Mhm.
for them.
Yep.
Be that something, a quick blurb in the bridge, because
Yes.
that not only reaches our families, but also all the members of
Yeah.
our town,
Every household.
the township, the city.
Thanks for bringing up about the bridge. I meant to say that. I forgot.
Because the handbook is good and it's
Mhm.
continuing, but it's not read in the,
Not well.
on a regular basis. I'm not gonna, let's not kid ourselves, but, yeah, I'm happy to serve as that mouthpiece for our
Mhm.
police.
It's a good way to put it.
And I think it fits well with our layered approach that we're trying to
Mhm.
tackle. So I think it's a great piece to add.
And no one thing will protect our children.
Mm, yeah.
Multiple things together certainly increase the chances, of safety, whether it's this, whether it's traffic situation we're dealing with still.
Mhm.
It's a layered approach.
I think it's great. Good job.
All right. Dr. Kozak, please call the roll.
Yep, Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Price.
Can you give us an update on the traffic situation?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm going off agenda, but I know where you're headed, so
Just say Heather wants to talk
I give 2 minutes.
Minute 55 seconds. Yeah, so this goes back 2+ years ago. We met with Stephanie Goff from the engineer's office, knowing we had a problem. She was keenly interested. COVID hit. We didn't talk and see each other for 2 years. Even though we just lost in the fray. We met with her a couple times since then. She clearly took it seriously. They did a study. They did some rearranging of signs. They came up with funding. They covered those, what you see now in FeedWire. So they are speed monitors. I'm having some issues with them. They aren't working yet. I have some issues. They think really the batteries are in storage for so long that they're not charging up from the solar cells. So it'll be a few days till we get it worked out. But basically, a flashing light with 20 miles per hour with a monitoring system that's tied to that speed limit. It's only going to be functional during that time of day, but before school, before school and the school ends at the end of the day. And I asked them, and this is the first in the county that they've had this particular system. So, so it took some initiative on our side, but they were responsive. And if you have an opportunity and you so agree, please let them know. We would really appreciate that. Is it going to protect our children like longer? No. But I think it is a significant advantage for trying to control what's going on. FeedWire is the perfect example of where they've seen a massive increase since 2009 in fatalities. In particular, it's feed roads. I'm interested in the name of this. If you look at the study from IHTSA, Institute for Highway Traffic Safety or something like that, they did a study between 2009 and 2016. The fatality, not injury, fatality rate increased 55%. And where this happened was on feed roads, non-intersection roads. It's exactly what we have in front of the middle school. So it's not an intersection. It's a feed wire, feeds into the interstates, And so it is a high risk area. So I think perfect solution. We don't have barriers coming up, but I think it is a major improvement. So again, please express to the county so inclined. We really appreciate it. We're grateful. And I'm really looking forward to finally start working with this. I think really good.
Who was the candidate? Stephanie Goff?
Stephanie Goff, county engineer. We met with her 3 times on this, and they took first a little bit of a slow approach about it because if you pay a lot of attention on FeedWire, you've got 2 telephone poles about 20 feet tall with the sign at the top, the school zone 20 miles per hour. And nobody knew why that was so. Because the standard is 7 feet. And they went into the basement of the engineer's office, and they broke out volumes of history, and they talked to people that were long since retired, and nobody has an idea why they did that. But they wanted to go study and make sure there wasn't something they were missing, and it wasn't. Somebody decided to put them higher for some reason. And so, yeah, it was her and her team together that did that. So they did, if you notice, there were some sign movements that took place first.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to make sure the crosswalk was in a reasonable place, and so there are things they have to do their due diligence, as a function of the standards by which they operate. But in the end, they agreed that we have a problem, and they funded it. So originally, we talked some weeks ago. I think we even authorized, if necessary, up to $15,000 for us to pay for it. As far as I know, we did not pay for these. Is that correct?
As far as I know, we have not paid for those.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Can we send, and maybe we can volunteer, Kevin, can we send a little thank you note maybe to them? On behalf of the board, we can all sign?
That makes a lot of sense.
It'd be great.
I'm going to send an email eventually, but it'd be more powerful, I think. So.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're not watching, so I didn't just spoil it.
No,
If they are, it'll be on its way. So.
But again, I think this is the first of its kind in the county.
Yeah.
School zones with those speed monitors.
Okay. All right, going on then. Next motion is for executive session. The board will meet in executive session for the purpose of discussing details relative to security arrangements and emergency response protocols per revised code 121.22, paragraph G6, and to consider compensation of a public employee per revised code 121.22, paragraph G1. And I will make the motion. Do we have a second? Did I hear a second? Oh, Mr. Kinsey? Right. Dr. Cozad, please call the roll.
Mrs. Dorn?
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes. Motion passes. We are going into executive session at 7:58. And we don't expect any action to be taken after the executive session.
In other words, be very important to stay around.
That's right.
1 to 5 hours.
That's the translation.